The road to 17th place, it's on its way. Manchester United are just cruising down the table. The road to 17th place, it's on its way. Manchester United are just cruising down the table. I always say this. The bottom three are usually not the worst in the Premier League because they're usually the teams that come from the Championship and automatically just go right back down. So the worst team in the Premier League usually stays at the 17th place. And Manchester United are just cruising down there. I think the only thing that is giving us any kind of hope, I understand, is the Europa League, but also the fact that Tottenham Hotspur is just as bad or even worse than Manchester United. This is our 16th, 1-6, our 16th loss of the season. This is one of the worst in a long time. We haven't done this since 1949, if I am not mistaken. This is the second time that we are mathematically not going to be able to get into the top half of the season, top half of the table. So we are automatically in the bottom half of the table. At the end of the season, we can't get to that top half. So we need to slide into the second page before you are able to see the Man United logo. This is disastrous. I hate the fact that Manchester United are it, but where they are, but I understand that this is what we are actually facing. I understand that this is what we have to deal with. I understand that the Premier League is not a priority, and I understand that these are young players playing. Because when you think about the team in the whole, the people that started the game was truly majority young players. You had Fredrickson, Amas, Kobe Mainu, Garnacho, Chido Obi. All these players are all young players. So you see, majority of our team that started were all young players. But then you also then look at the situation. This game, coming into this game, all we honestly needed was for us to not lose and for us to not lose any player to injury. And quite unfortunate, we saw De Ligt go down. And in that situation, it pisses me off because when De Ligt went down, he waved and signaled because that is truly a really serious injury. And in the rules, by the way, I know a lot of people have this thing where if it's not a head injury, you can play on. In the rules, it says the referee needs to stop the play if it's a serious injury. It doesn't really specify a head injury. It says if it's a serious injury. And what consists of usually serious injuries, we're looking at a bone break, an injury of the head, of course, an injury that somebody's incapacitated on the field, an injury that the person signifies so much pain that you need to stop it for them to actually get medical treatment. And usually, that signifies that the person is going to be needed to be subbed off. And that's what happened today because De Ligt actually got subbed off. But the play did not stop. And I understand, usually in that situation, you, as a player, you have the discretion to make fair play. You basically kick the ball out. But Brentford did not stop. They did not stop. And it's also part of the players. I need them to understand that when the referee doesn't blow, you keep on playing. It's quite simple. That is one of the reasons why we allowed the second goal. And the moment they scored the second goal, our heads dropped. And that has always been a problem in the Premier League. Our heads drop. We feel like we can't do anything right. And things just go to crap. That's the problem that we are facing in the Premier League. You get me? It is the problem that we are facing in the Premier League, unfortunately. Right now, and I believe we are 16th place. If I'm not mistaken, 14th, 16th, 15th, I don't care. I understand that we're focusing on the Europa League, but at least we need to have some pride. We need to have pride playing in the Premier League because that is still the bread and butter of what we do in terms of football. It is still the bread and butter. So we need to get better at winning these games and get better at climbing up the table. Because one thing we do not say enough is that when you get higher position in the table, you get more money from the Premier League based on how you actually finish in the league. But let's go about reviewing how the game went. I know I spent 4 minutes just complaining and talking about the Bard, but let's go about reviewing how the game went. The game started in a really good way with Mason Mount and Garnacho doing their magic, and Mason Mount actually scores a goal for Manchester United. He lost to score against Brentford. I think the last goal he scored for Manchester United was against Brentford. And so it was good to see Mason Mount back in the goal scoring list, in just the goal sheet in general, because he needs to contribute in that part of the game. He has every ability, every single ability to actually contribute in that part. And we just haven't seen a consistent flow for us to actually understand that this is what he will bring to Manchester United. And so good to see him actually in the goals. But what we started seeing is Manchester United could not clear their second balls. Challenges, it felt like people were dropping away from challenges, did not want to go 110%. The likes of Dogu, I understand he's still adapting to Manchester United and the Premier League as a whole, but Dogu, Amas, Luke Shaw, all of them were pulling out of tackles or pulling out of challenges in terms of, especially with the first and second ball, that it honestly led to the second goal. Sorry, to the equalizer, not the second goal. Because the long throw from Coyote, I believe, the long throw from Coyote was something that we had an opportunity to clear. We had an opportunity to clear. We did not clear it for the first ball. They got the second ball. How they got the second ball, I have no idea. But every coach will tell you, if you do not get the first ball, make sure you get the second. Because if you do not get the second, you are putting yourself in huge trouble. And that is what happened today, because we did not get the first, we did not get the second, and we did not get the third. That is just a problem, and we need to solve it. We need to get better at doing that. And this is the reason why the summer transfer window will be so big for Manchester United. Will be so big for Manchester United. Of course, we saw the equalizer, but then the next goal came from Kevin Schade, which was what I explained about the Ligt injury. That should have been a call for stoppage of play, because of the moment he fell to the ground and he held his knee, he waved his hand to show that I am in serious pain. And that is the signal that is needed. That is the signal that is needed for the referee to look at it and stop. But Michael Oliver, whatever his name is, it's whatever he does. It's whatever. I'm not angry per se, because I know the Premier League is almost done. I think we have like 2-3 games left. It's almost done. But it's still mind-blowing to see that Manchester United are as low as we are. I would never get used to that. I would never be okay with where we are. I just can't. I honestly just can't. And then you look at the second half, and that's when literally all hell broke loose. They scored literally 2 goals in quick successions. Schade strikes again, which was actually pretty good in terms of the cross from Mbeumo to the back post. They had threatened that so many times. Fredrickson, which actually played well today, Fredrickson actually found a way to get to that ball so many times that it was mind-blowing that it kept on coming, and we could not stop Mbeumo from going to his left foot. It's all about decisions. When you start seeing the game repeat itself and repeat itself, now start making different decisions. When you see him cross the ball so many times to the back post, take him to the freaking bar line. So he uses his weaker foot, his right foot, and you guys have a better chance of clearing the ball. That is usually what would happen. That is usually what somebody is meant to be telling you in the second half, in the dressing room, so you understand. But apparently it wasn't done. Now the fourth goal for Brentford, I can't really say anything about that. It was just a beautiful walked goal. Another great move from Coyote to Yoane Wissa, and he just dispatched it perfectly. I was hoping for an offside, but Wissa, you could see Wissa, being the experienced player that he is, literally count his steps, shorten his stride for him to be behind the ball. And that was the smartest thing he did in that situation, because he got them the 3-goal lead they needed to win this game. But in the next, let's say in the 81st minute, if I'm not mistaken, Alejandro came out with a beautiful finesse goal. A beautiful goal that he did not even need to look at the post. He did not need to look at the post. I guess we can see this as positives. He did not need to look at the post. He just knows where it is, and he has been trying that shot for the whole season, and he came off today. And one of the biggest positives was that Ahmad came into the game, and we can absolutely see why we need Ahmad, because the moment the ball went to that right-hand side, every single thing was threatening. Ahmad was driving past. In fact, the first opportunity he got with the ball, he broke into the 18-yard box and got pushed over, but nobody blew a penalty. And I'm not saying that was a penalty. However, we can just see the threat that Ahmad brings to Manchester United. The balance that Ahmad brings to Manchester United, especially because we have Garnacho on one side and we have Ahmad on one side. So you pick your poison. But then the 90th minute, when the game is virtually over, they rose the 7 minutes mark. Ahmad does something magical. He dribbles into the 18-yard box and hits the ball so hard, it went through the goalkeeper's legs. He could not. And the funny thing about it is, usually you're quicker to close your legs than you're quicker to fall on the ground. And he just could not close his leg quicker or quickly enough. And it went to 4-3. It went to 4-3. And that's how the game basically ended. But in this particular game, it's not just about that. It's that Manchester United controlled the game a little bit better. We had 52% possession, and Brentford had 48. Shots on target, Brentford had 6. Man United had 5. Yellow cards, of course, Man United 2, Brentford 0. But high-pressing games that the opponents go one-on-one, 1v1, we find it so difficult. We find it so difficult for us to actually beat the press. We find it so difficult. In fact, let me say this. In the last game against Bilbao, we started that game with Bilbao pressing us 1v1. And then you saw the likes of Ugarte pressing up. That way, he gave Casemiro a bit more space in the midfield to actually receive the ball. Today, we couldn't do it because those two players were not there. Those two players were not there, and Amorim did not want to give these players more work and more tactical things to remember because of this team is so, the drop down from the first team to the second team is so bad and is so low that there's just different requirements. And that is where the summer transfer window would actually have to pay dividend. Because we need to raise the floor for every single person, that when we take out somebody and put the next person, the drop-off is not that severe. The drop-off should not be severe. It should remain the same. And that's what you saw with the likes of Liverpool. You saw with the likes of Arsenal. Liverpool, when they bring in Harvey Elliott shows out the same way that the likes of Jota was playing, or the likes of Gravenberch was playing. Of course, we see a difference, but the drop-off is not crazy enough where all of a sudden the team doesn't know how to play anymore. So anyway, this is a situation that Manchester United need to do better. We need to be better. And in the summer, we need to spend better in order for us to raise the floor and in turn, kick the ceiling open. Let me know what you guys think about this down in the comments. Manchester United lose this game. Brentford 4, Manchester United 3. I will see you guys in the next one. Of course, we are going into a huge week right now as we prepare for Bilbao on Thursday. Let me know what you guys think. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.